the right mindset for SAT reading part, which means, for example, the SAT reading is different from the previous reading, such as the SSAT reading, okay, if everyone takes SSAT reading. So it's very different because, first of all, they are evidence-based reading, which means you don't use any of your background information to solve the problem, even you know something about the subject, especially when you know something about the subject. It's very dangerous. Okay, for example, the passage is about like a story in some great literature, which you have read before. Maybe you're very familiar with the author. Please don't use your memory, use your previous knowledge to solve it. Everything you're gonna need to solve the problem is from the passage itself. Okay, so for every question, basically every question, you have to go back to the certain part of the passage to look for the answer. So don't let your background information, your instincts, your feelings, okay, or maybe your guessing to interfere your understanding or your interpretations. Just follow the text. That's very, very important. So it's evidence-based reading, or we call them as text-based reading. Where's everything? That's weird. Okay. All right. So this is the first mindset you have to be very clear, aware of. All right. The second one is some of the students, they pretend to read something like passively, a passive reading. So here, what do I mean by passive reading? Passive reading, which means, we just read word by word, sentence by sentence, and trying to understand everything, right? Because this is the traditional way, like the way the teacher told us how to do the reading part, right? From the first sentence to the last sentence, and try to understand everything, every vocabulary. But guys, it's not working in SAT reading. First, you don't have the time. Okay, if you read just word by word, you will never finish every passage. Probably going to finish 4 of them, but not everyone. Second, it's not necessary. Only some parts of the passage are going to help you get a correct answer, not everything. And also, it is not possible to understand everything, trust me. Okay, even though you could be like a really broad reader, you have really great reading skills, there are gonna be some passages that are super, super difficult to understand, such as the historical documents, which both of you like the most. Okay, some of the language, they are, how to say, like their dead language. We don't use them anymore. So the sentence structure is pretty strange from our perspective. So it's very hard, and it's gonna cost you a lot of time to understand meaning. Sometimes you need to skip it, okay, to get maybe, okay, what is this whole paragraph's main idea? This is much better, much important than every word's meaning, all right? So the goal is you need to turn the passive reading into something we call active reading. So what do I mean by active reading? It's like, okay, you go to a mall to buy something. If you don't know what you're gonna buy, you're probably gonna wander around the mall for like 2 hours without getting anything, right? Just like you read an SAT reading section. You read over and over. Trust me, guys, you're gonna have this procedure. Okay, you're gonna have this like process that, okay, this sentence is really hard, and subconsciously you read this for 3 times without even noticing that. And you don't know what it's talking about. Okay, so if you know what you're gonna buy in the mall, you're gonna save a lot of time, which means when you read every passage, you have to be pretty clear what you're looking for, which is the important point. Then my problem is, or my question is, so what is the important point, right? Okay, so the important point, it is the priority in our reading sessions. I'm gonna tell you every sessions. Okay, for example, for the fiction part, for the literature section, what is like the 5 biggest components you need to read, you need to look for, all right? And for social science, what is the basic structure and what is the important things? So just have this mindset before, okay? The second thing we're gonna learn in the class is learn the features and structures of different genres, the passage part cover the genres, which means we're gonna cover different genres for one, fiction, social science, natural science, and history individually. Okay, everyone has their distinctive features and different structures. like passage structures. Okay, so today for the lesson 1, we're going to focus on the fiction part. All right, so also for some of the parts in the passage, we will spend some time analyzing the sentence structure. For example, some sentence could be super long. They have 4 or 5 lines, and it's hard to understand. So the thing is, you need to look for what is the subject, what is the main idea of this long sentence. You don't have to understand everything. Probably half of the sentence is useless, that you can delete them. All right, so which the other half is important, or which word is more important? If I don't know this vocabulary is super hard and obscure, do I have a second way to take a guess of the meaning? Yes, you do. Okay, and then the last thing is we're going to introduce you some common question types and the solutions. But this part may not be the focus for the foundation stage, okay, for information. All right, so now let's check about the question types. In the reading section, we have in total 10 different questions. Okay, we have an idea questions, which means the big picture questions, the like the whole organization of the passage is what. Or they're going to ask you some details, like literal comprehension, make some inference, and find evidence. Okay, and they're going to ask you some function, like why the author mentioned a certain phrase, or the paragraph 2 serves to do what. Okay, they're going to ask you what is the function, what is the purpose of certain sentence or paragraph or vocabulary. All right, so among all these question types, I give you a graph here. As you can see here, they are in different proportion, right? Which part is the majority question? Yes. Detailed questions, yes. So we're going to start from this one today. Okay, so if you can decoding the detailed questions, so basically every passage, you have no problem for maybe half of the questions, because half of them are detailed questions. Okay, now let's see the detailed questions. We have 2 subcategories in these big ones. Okay, the first one is called literal comprehension, which means they are very straightforward. They're very direct. Okay, they ask you a specific detail mentioned in some part of the passage, which your mission is to looking for the place. Okay, so let's see one example here. Yeah, typical questions. For example, they could ask you, the narrator indicates that, and then some details, right? So if you see this word, this is a clue, this is a detailed question, and you don't have to make any inference, which means you don't have to make any speculation. But probably the correct answer will not use the same word with the passage. And trust me, usually the same word is wrong. It's called same word trap. Okay, so please don't choose the same word. Usually you're gonna use a different wording, but the same meaning. So you need to look for like, okay, so what is this detail I'm looking for, right? And I go back to the test, go back to the passage. Maybe it's from the first paragraph or the last paragraph. Okay, what is the original section? What is the original sentence? And probably I'm mentioning 1 or 2 words, and that is the correct answer. Okay, so the second question type could be like according to the passage. So if you see this word, according to the passage, still another detailed questions. Direct. Okay, they are super direct. Or you say states. Same thing happened here. Okay, so remember the 3 clue words, and let's look at a paragraph here. I'm giving you an example here. All right, so let me tell you what you need to do next. First of all, let's read the question here. Okay, please do not read the passages first. So this is the question here. And tell me which word that is telling you this is a literal comprehension question. Yes, indicates. And then the second step is we need to look for the details in the question. Okay, guys, in the question, what is the key words? Which means which words are important that can help me navigate, right, the details in the passage. What am I looking for? Okay, we have a name, so it's very specific. Usually the keywords are specific and they could be a noun, or they could be a verb, or maybe adjective, but they must be specific. The broad words are not keywords, right? Must be specific. Is that enough? Mr. Fonseca, is that enough? Cabin on the ship. And so I'm looking for this man and the cabin and ship. What else? What happened with the cabin? What happened to the ship? What happened to the man? Okay, the narrator indicates that he visited this man's cabin on the ship when the narrator did what? Which means they ask us under what circumstance, in what kind of condition the narrator, or like here, I here is the main character, right? I'm gonna visit this man. So I'm looking for a time, or I'm looking for a condition, right? And also, yes, I'm looking for this man, Mr. Fonseca, and the ship and cabin. So please be careful about this when thing. Can you tell me for answer for question 7? Like which line is your reference? Which line can give you the answer?
I would say line 30 or somewhere close to that, because it says I would visit that room if the day was dull or something, because it said something about a room, which in the question it says cabin. So
Good.
something related.
Right. And also they have the same word like visit, right? I will visit, and then ask you, he visited. The cabin matching the visit, the room, and they have the same word, and they have the condition. The condition here is if the day was dull. So Fiona, which is your answer? A, B, C, D, which is correct.
Can you give me like 1 second to read the
Sure.
the options?
So our evidence is if the day was dull, that is the condition. And we're looking for what? We're looking for a different expression, but the same idea, that the day was dull. The day was like boring.
Oh, if there was nothing more interesting to do. Sorry.
Yes, which means A is correct. But as you can see, guys, there are a lot of traps because in the other options, they have the similar, or maybe they have the same words mentioned in the nearby places. But you have to be very careful about your location. If you already find the line references, that is the evidence, right? The only thing you need to do is rephrase the words, changing the wording, but don't change the meaning, okay? So understand you have the basic rule for the detailed questions, or we call the literal comprehension, is same idea, different words. Different words. They will not give you the same words as the correct answer, because that's too obvious. That's too easy for your high school students. All right, don't test you in SAT like that. Okay, so for this one, which is A, and in your own exercise, like when you do a homework, what you need to do is you need to, first of all, circle the correct answer, or the answer choice you think is correct. And then please underscore, or maybe just highlight the evidence, like which sentence give you the evidence asking you to choose option A, like supporting option A. You need to circle this part. Okay, that can make you be very clear about, okay, if you get this correct, that's easy. But if you get this incorrect, you can understand why you get this wrong. You find the different parts and why that part is irrelevant. Okay,